options. When you're dropping down, you're getting closer and closer to what Mrs. Jones can afford. That's pretty exciting, right? Saving Mrs. Jones some money. So you show them all the options that they possibly have. Now you guys all know we have all different types of set. We have a set for basically anybody. The homemaker, people who like to cook, and then we have even down to the studio set, which by the way, my grandma has a studio set. Guess how many times my grandma cooks? Like none. So we have sets for people who don't even like to cook, like the studio set, something like that. So what I want to do is I want to show you guys how it's beneficial for you and Mrs. Jones to drop down effectively. So how is it beneficial for Mrs. Jones? That's the most important part, right? You're saving her money. Every time you drop down with Mrs. Jones, you're getting closer and closer to what she can afford. So you want to make sure you're getting excited when you're dropping down. I remember I talked to my team about this in training. You got to be excited when you're going over the homemaker. And then when you show her the galley set, you have to be even more excited. Imagine if I was talking about the homemaker and I was like, yeah, this is the best set in the entire world. And then, oh yeah, this is the galley set. And oh, this is the essential set. Oh, that's the small one, that's the studio set. How excited is Mrs. Jones going to be about the studio set? She's going to be like, don't even show that to me right now. You're not very excited about it. So, I'm going to give you 4 keys on how to effectively drop down. So you definitely want to take out your notes during this section. So, the first key to dropping down effectively is go slow. That's the very first one. Now, this seems really basic. You're like, Jenna, I do that. I go slow. Believe me, when you're on your appointment, you have to go 4 times as slow as you feel like you're going. So go super slow with Mrs. Jones, because Mrs. Jones' mind is going a lot slower than yours. Because guess what? Mrs. Jones didn't go through 3 days of training. She doesn't know a lot about Cutco. You're teaching her everything. So when you're talking about the homemaker set, and she's like, I don't really know, I don't know, I like it, but I don't know. And you're like, okay, well, this is the galley set. She's still thinking about the homemaker set. She's like, okay, well, that had the 10 pieces, and then homemaker plus 8, so it was 8 table knives. While she's thinking all of this, you're talking about the galley set. She's not even hearing anything that you're saying about the galley set. And you're like, is that something you like to do today? And she's kind of like, because she's still thinking about the homemaker set. So you want to make sure that you stay on each set as long as possible. So you want to go super slow with Mrs. Jones. Also, I'll give you an example. This is what I did when I first started. Believe me, learn from my mistakes. All my reps know this. What did I do? I opened up my manual, my blue book. I went over the homemaker. I was so excited about the homemaker, by the way. I thought it was the best thing since sliced bread. And it pretty much is. But when I showed the homemaker set, the customers would be like, well, I like that piece. And I'd be like, yes, sale. Okay, perfect. Let me pull out my order form, Mrs. Jones. Yes, you can buy a spatula spreader. But what did I miss? All the other steps, dropping down, right? I didn't show her the galley set. I didn't show her the essential set. I didn't show her the studio set. I didn't show her anything. And it was really doing a disservice to Mrs. Jones, honestly, when I think back to it. Because could she have afforded a smaller set? Probably. She was paying like, what, $65 for a spatula spreader? If she puts one of the starter sets on a 5-pay, by the way, we have starter sets, you guys know, less than $100 on a 5-pay. So she pays $40 more today, and she could have gotten a whole set of Cutco. So I was doing a disservice to Mrs. Jones. Now, can Mrs. Jones buy separately? Yes, of course. But we want to make sure she knows all her options before she decides on the pieces that she likes. So you want to go really slowly with Mrs. Jones, and after every set, make sure you ask for the order. I remember when I was new, if I dropped down, which was rarely, by the way, I was so nervous about dropping down, I wouldn't even ask for the order. I'd be like, yeah, this is our galley set. It has these ones, and then it comes with 6 table knives. And then I kind of look at her like, and then I drop down to the essentials. I'm like, oh, okay, this is the essential set. It has these ones, and then it comes with 5 table knives. And then I just kind of sit and smile at her, and she'd be like, this is the studio set. So you see what I'm not doing? I'm not even asking for the order. So whenever you're going over the set, you always want to ask for the order and go really slowly with Mrs. Jones so she knows exactly what she's saying yes or no to. So that's the first key. Always go slowly with Mrs. Jones. Number 2, I want to write this down in your notes. Go over every option. Go over every option with Mrs. Jones. Now, what every option means, you all know the sets, right? So we start with the homemaker, and we go to the galley. You guys all know this. That's basic, right? What you want to make sure you go over with each set, write this down. In full. In full, 5 pay. In full, 5 pay. Free stuff. And then trade-in special. So in full, 5 pay. Free stuff, trade-in special. So, if you're thinking about this, you're just like, I don't know how to show all that. Guess where it is? In your manual. Perfect. So you guys all know, hey, this homemaker set is only $11.73 or $2.36 on a 5 pay. Hey, Mrs. Jones, we have a first call special. If you get this set today, I can include the matching kitchen tools or the super shears for free. So all those are in your manual already. Make it super easy for you guys to drop down. The trade-in special, you guys know. If the price is the only thing that's holding them back, you want to make sure you got your advanced training manual and you read exactly what it says. Hey, Mrs. Jones, what I can do for you is, and then you talk about the trade-in special. So that's for every single set, by the way. We have a trade-in special for every single set. It's in your advanced training 2 manual. Okay, so when you're going over each set, you want to make sure they know about the 5 pay, or the in full, then the 5 pay. Hey, Mrs. Jones, we can give you free stuff. By the way, I've had a lot of customers that nearly got stuff just because they got free stuff. They're like, I can get free stuff? Awesome! Well, I like this and this and this. Okay, let me call my manager for you and figure out a good deal for you. Okay? Just so you guys know, your best thing, always call into the office. So that'll be one of my last keys. So, you always want to make sure you go over every single option with the customer. So we talk about the homemaker, in full, 5 pay, free stuff, trade-in special. You guys see where it's going. And you always want to call into the office when you're going over prices so you're getting them the best deal. Okay? Now, I remember when I first started, like I said in the beginning, I felt bad. I was like, oh my gosh, Mrs. Jones has already said no like 3 times. I don't want her to say no again. Know this, it takes Mrs. Jones 5 no's to say yes once. So write that down in your notes. 5 no's equals 1 yes. So, how many times do we have to ask Mrs. Jones before she says yes? Homemaker in full, homemaker 5 pay, homemaker free stuff, homemaker trade-in special, galley. You're going to sell a lot of galleys, right? Now, will some Mrs. Joneses get the homemaker and they'll be easy for you? Of course. We know we got a lot of touchdowns in Huntington Beach and obviously in Cypress too, which I'm super excited about. You want to make sure though you're going through every single option. Number 3, this is probably one of the most important, by the way. Be excited. Be excited. If you're going over each set and your enthusiasm is dropping, you're doing it wrong. Sorry to break it to you. But when you're going over the homemaker issue, you should be excited. It's not like the homemaker is like the bottom. You're like, this set sucks, Mrs. Jones. And then you get higher. You obviously want to be pretty high, and then you go up from there. Every single time you go up, your price is going down. Mrs. Jones should be more excited about it anyways. You're trying to fit something into her budget. So you always want to be excited. And also, number 4, the last key, call into the office. This is something super basic that you probably have heard 50,000 times, but honestly, we are your best resource. By the way, $40,000 in career sales. Last year when I was doing appointments, I still called into the office. Now, I've been in the company for a while. You think I know all the deals? Probably. But why I called in is it's a credibility check for Mrs. Jones. She knows, oh wow, they really are getting me the best deal. I already knew. I called in the manager, hey, yeah, they're getting a homemaker plus 8. I'm going to give them the super shears. Is that the best deal we can give them? Yeah, it totally is. Okay, great. Just wanted to check. See how easy that is? Always want to make sure you're calling into the office when you're going over deals. What I tell my reps, by the way, the easiest place is at the homemaker. If you call in every single time into the office after the homemaker, I promise you'll sell more homemakers and more starter sets too. I remember Josh, when he sold his very first touchdown, what did you do, by the way, when you were going over the homemaker? Who did you call?
I actually called you like immediately.
Remember what I told you right before we were going over the appointment? I said, call me when you're going over the homemaker, right? I want to help you with your first set sale. So guess what Josh did? He called me when he went over the homemaker. He's like, hey, Jenna, I don't know if they're going to get it. They really like the homemaker, though. It's my mom and dad. So I wanted to see what we could do. Now, at this point in time, I don't know if Josh thought that they were going to get the homemaker. It didn't sound like he did. So I said, hey, let me do this. Let me give him a really good deal. Gave him a good deal. We told it to mom and dad. How excited were mom and dad?
They were pretty stoked on it.
They were pretty stoked, right? So all he had to do was just call me when we were going over the homemaker. No matter what they say about the homemaker, by the way. If they love it, if they hate it, I'm not going to hate it, by the way. Everybody loves the homemaker. If they say, oh, I want to get it later, or I want to get it today, no matter what, just call when you're going over the homemaker. Just be like, hey, my manager expects me to call in this time. Give me a quick call. Or Elaine, obviously. Okay? So, number 1, you always want to go slowly with Mrs. Jones. Number 2, you always want to go over every single set option. Also, be excited. Pretty basic, right? And calm the office as much as humanly possible. Believe me, I think I speak for Elaine too. If we get a call from you 20 times on an appointment, it is impossible to bug us. Absolutely impossible. I've stayed on the phone with representatives for an hour and a half on an appointment trying to figure out a good deal for them. And I know Elaine would do the exact same thing for you guys. So we're here for you no matter what. So give us a call on your appointments. So now imagine this. Now think of the reason why you're here. Maybe it was when Elaine shook your hand and she said, congratulations, you got the job, and you're like, yes, this is going to get me to blank, blank, and blank. Or these skills are going to be, I'm going to get these skills, communication skills, goal setting, whatever it may be. Think of the reason why you're here. The goals that you want to attain in the company. Maybe it's getting your first promotion. Maybe it's getting your second promotion, getting on key staff. Maybe it's one of those. Now think of it like this. If the only thing that was holding you back from hitting that goal was just to drop down effectively, would it be worth it? That's what I want you guys to ask. Now, when you drop down effectively, by the way, benefit to you, your average order size goes up. So the average order size of the company is about $250, right? If you don't know your average order size, that's okay. But what I can tell you is, what if it went up $100? What if it went up $200? What would that mean for your paychecks? Right? So remember how she was talking about comma checks? The only way you're going to get to a comma check is if you drop down effectively. I can guarantee you that. I'm not going to do the homemaker to the spatula spreader like Jenna. That didn't work out so well. My average order size was like down here. So what would that do for your paychecks? And as you know, every office is going for a different goal. You guys have all been hearing about Cypress. I'm super excited for the Huntington Beach office. As you all know, we're just getting started, but we're going for records in Huntington Beach. Most sales done in the Huntington Beach area. We are going to make the best Huntington Beach team that this office or this company has ever seen. So I'm really excited for you guys, and I'm excited for Cypress, by the way. So use what I said during the meeting, just going really slowly with Mrs. Jones, calling the office, be excited, show everything, and your average order size will go up, promotions faster, and your paychecks are higher. So, thank you guys.